What's up, everybody? We are live. Welcome to the All About the Birds weekly report. This is just one of 4 days that we have original content on this great network of sports talk. We're not just all about the Birds. We're all about Phillies, Sixers, Eagles, Flyers. We talk fantasy golf. We do it all on this network. We've got an opening statement for you guys before I introduce you to the team. As always, our opening statement of the day is, can Jalen Hurts be a top 10 quarterback? Controversial statement, I know, but it's not meant to be that. We're really going to dive into this week. What is Jalen Hurts feeling this year coming up and the years going forward with the Eagles? Because there is a lot of talk. Johnny does the draft show. There's a lot of talk about the Eagles drafting a quarterback in the first round. Why is that a conversation point? Is it because Jalen Hurts cannot be a top 10 quarterback? Can he not be a top 15 quarterback? If you look at the playoffs this year and the Super Bowls the last 5-10 years, very rarely do you have a quarterback in the playoffs, let alone the Super Bowl, that is not a top-tier quarterback. You had Washington and Chicago this year, but if you look at the Super Bowls, Jared Goff was a top 15 quarterback when he went to the Super Bowl. I think people were going to bring him up. There's a lot of guys. Jimmy Garoppolo was playing at an elite level last year, at least top 15 level last year when they went to the Super Bowl. So the question is, can Jalen Hurts be a top 10 quarterback? We got Johnny Uleka. We got Jeff Warner. We got Chip Keggy. I am Phil Stiefel. Make sure you bring the comments. Make sure you bring all your passion, all your Eagles passion to the show. And let's get started. I've given the guys assignments as always. The assignments this week, one's going to take care of the positives of Jalen Hurts, one's going to take care of the negatives, and one is going to talk about his past before the Eagles in college and what we've seen growth-wise. Then we're going to tie it all together. So, Chip, you get to be Mr. Positive today.
Well, hooray.
So, Chip, what kind of positives have you seen out of Jalen Hurts in his limited sample size that could tell us that he has a ceiling that can get to the playoffs?
So I would just like to share with Mr. Stiefel here
Mr. Stifle, am I in trouble?
That I am not excited about my assignment this week.
No.
I am positive that I disagree with the statement that I have to put out this week.
Positive that you disagree? Do you disagree and have no notes?
No, I have plenty of notes. Chip talking here, not Chip doing his work. Chip talking here does not think that Jalen Hurts is a top 15 quarterback in this league. Now,
this year, next year, going forward, ever. Okay.
Ever.
Because that's where this question is going.
Now, here are the positives where he could prove me wrong. Okay. So he had a 4-game sample size, and in that sample size, with a very anemic Doug Peterson offense, with a very predictable Doug Peterson offense, you saw Jalen Hurts light a fire under a team that was devoid of any energy, right? You are already hearing about all of these wide receivers and all of these players that want to work out with him, that are going to be working out with him, not with Carson, because they're already saying Carson is going. They are saying that we're going to know that Jalen Hurts is our quarterback of the future. Let's work with him. In those 4 games, over the first season, 6 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, average, very 500 level numbers, threw for over 1,000 yards. That's pretty good. There were highs and lows. You saw him absolutely light it up against the Cardinals. 338 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. He beat the Saints, a team that he was supposed to, we were all supposed to lose to. But then you saw him play the first half against Washington, right? So you saw the rookie struggles. And I think what you saw is a team that needed something. Adapt to a quarterback that was providing it to them. And then all of a sudden, when the tape got out on him, he needed more coaching. Now, where he has some positives, and I'm seeing the comments rolling in, and I agree with them. He is a team leader. He's not that fiery team leader where he's going to yell and be aggressive. He's going to lead by example, which I personally think is one of the best ways to lead. He's going to be the first one in the locker room. He's going to be the last one out of the weight room. He's going to be the one that studies the film. He's going to work at his craft. The running game, if the offense that Nick Sirianni brings is built around his athleticism, I think he's going to have a lot of success. If they try to build it around his passing game, I think he's going to struggle.
All right, so real quick, though, see what you're saying there. His passing game, and when we're going to get into it when we get into his college tape with Johnny, the guy can throw the ball. I mean, he's not a super strong arm strength, but he doesn't have weak arm strength. He could still make NFL passes. I don't want to neglect that. And,
agreed. And accuracy is, you saw it as a rookie. You saw a rookie with accuracy and arm strength with no training camp, with no rookie OTA, with nothing to really prepare him in a pandemic year. So he didn't really get a chance to be on the field learning a very, like I said, boring offense.
Johnny, any comments on the minimal amount of positives that Chip brought to the table here? Because there's got to be more positives than that. Without bringing up your college information, any other positives that we could build on to hope that he could be a top 10, top 15, top 20 quarterback this upcoming year and in the years going forward?
So the positives that I would say is, remember with the COVID and everything, no OTAs, no training camp, none of that. Yes, he's put in the offense, but remember, he's used as gadget here and there at the beginning of the season. He gets time to be able to play against, the Packers, and then he goes on and plays these starts these other games. And I understand the second half of the games, the offense didn't look that great. But if you compare a 5-year veteran who's supposed to be your franchise guy to a 4-game rookie, and they're either somewhat the same or a little bit, to me, that's, I understand the numbers aren't the best, but the positives are, there are a lot of positives there. There are some negatives, but again, a rookie. There's so many. To me, I think there's more. I think that positives outweigh the negatives, though.
So, Jeff, before Jeff, I want to give Jeff a chance to talk positives before he starts negative talk and all. I don't know what made me give Jeff the negatives, but I just feel negatives work with Jeff really well. But give me something positive before we dive into the negatives.
I say the one positive that Jalen Hurts brought to the Philadelphia Eagles and that offense was that spark and that energy. That is athleticism. I would say we talk about the offensive line issues, which I would say I know everyone wants to complain about the offensive line. I'll dive more into when it comes to the negatives, but I would say his mobility and athleticism to move around the pocket, extend plays, and roll out and avoid pressure. I would say that's one of the positives to his game.
And that's what I was hoping somebody brought that up.
And I was going to add to
because. We talked at the end of the season that he was masking some of the deficiencies of this team.
Right.
But on the flip side of the equation, with one or two more skilled players around him, what he's masking turns into, wins. He was masking the deficiencies to keep us in games. You get one or two more skilled players around him, a more solidified offensive line, a better play caller. All of a sudden, those deficiencies he's masking are turning into more touchdowns.
And one of the
less
things
turnovers, et cetera.
Right. One of the things I was going to add is, the most successful quarterback in Philadelphia Eagles history, Donovan McNabb, how was he successful? He was successful by being an athletic quarterback. That's what Jalen Hurts provides. You also have a quarterback. We've heard so much of the media saying, the mentality piece of of Carson Wentz, right? Jalen Hurts was replaced, moved on to a different college, did great work there, was drafted in the second round of the NFL draft, sat on the bench, learned his craft. He kind of just does. And
he's not afraid of the controversy either, or he lives and plays with that chip on his shoulder all the time. It's not just
he constantly has something to prove.
Exactly. It's not just a leadership quality. It's a chip. A chip on the shoulder is a really actually important quality to have. Not to use to play on words, Chip. The chip on the shoulder. It's a really important quality for a quarterback in the NFL, especially on a team that's got a lot to prove.
Right. And so for me, can Jalen Hurts be a top 10 quarterback? It's going to be a struggle for him to get there, but I think with the right coaching, again, like I said, if Nick Sirianni builds an offense around the things that Jalen Hurts does well, rather than the things that he wants Jalen Hurts to do well. See, we saw that, and we said over and over again on these shows, you cannot force players to be players that they're not. That's what Doug Peterson was constantly doing, turning Carson Wentz into a pocket passer, turning Jalen Hurts into a pocket. That's not what they are. So if Nick Sirianni can build an offense and provide the weapons, think about who Jalen Hurts was playing with at the end of this season. Guys who, it's just like him, were coming off of a draft board with no experience.
Yeah. All right. So real quick, we got a lot of new watchers and viewers, tuning in again. This is the All About the Birds Network. This is our weekly show, the weekly report show that we do on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. If you're on Facebook right now, do us a favor. Just click the like button, click the share button. If you're on Twitter, click that retweet button. If you're watching on YouTube, we're trying to build our subscribers count up on there. Click us a thumbs up, click subscribe on there. We appreciate all that stuff. We're trying to debate where on the top 10, 20, 30, 100 list Jalen Hurts will be next year as the Eagles starting quarterback, because he's going to be the starting quarterback next year. I think we've all come to that agreement.
Are we sure?
I knew you were going to say that, Jeff. But Jeff, instead of talking about Carson Wentz again, we did Carson Wentz last week.
Well, not even Carson Wentz.
All our viewers, thank you. Last week's episode between Facebook, Twitter, Anchor, all the podcasts, over 5,000 views and listens to our episode last week. Let's keep that momentum going. And as I say, let's keep that momentum going. Let's move on to Jeff and the negatives of Jalen Hurts and why he cannot be a top 10 quarterback in the NFL.
Look,
I think that was a great segue right there.
Yeah, Chip brought some great points, and he's absolutely right. I would say Jalen Hurts, I would say in times and moments last year, I would say he showed you that he can be a leader, that he can make the big throws, that he can make the plays, but it was a 4-game sample size against some inferior opponents for the most part, and I would say he still struggled at times. I would say the one thing coming out of college was that teams felt he was not a quarterback or a pro-ready quarterback coming out of college. He was going to be a developmental type of guy that they're going to have to build upon, which I'll say with the new coaching staff, it's going to take some time to develop him. And I'm not saying
taking the time to develop them, it seems like they're actually going to have an offseason this year.
Well, hopefully, I'll say mini camps, I think might be a little bit of a struggle. I would say depending what's going to happen with the vaccines. Training camp, they should be fine. But I would say, even so, I would say this guy only had a 4-game sample size last year, and he showed you that he still had the same problems coming out of college as he did in the pros, even after sitting on the bench, and he still took first-team reps throughout the season and before he was the starting quarterback. I would say he showed you the inaccuracies that he had of throwing the ball. He showed you that he broke down I would say the pocket. I would say we won't blame the offensive line, but there were plenty of times he had a clean pocket and he abandoned the play way too quickly instead of going through his progressions. I don't know if that was the confidence in what he had in the receivers around him. So I know you.
That's a rookie thought process, I think.
Yeah,
right. He's a rookie, and that was his fear.
And I'm not saying Jalen cannot be a top 10 quarterback in this league. I just did not see it with the amount of problems we have with this team on the offensive side ball and the defensive side of football, because the one problem last year besides that Arizona game was putting up points. And I would say, are we going to be able, if the defense ain't fixed, are we going to be able to rely on Jalen Hurts to win games in a shootout? I would say it's all going to depend on the pieces they put around him, and hopefully Nick Sirianni can be that guy to, like he says, adjust to the players he has and not try to force the players to work his game plan. So hopefully that's the case and they work to his strengths. But until I see a full season sample size from Jalen Hurts, the jury's
right
not out yet.
And I want you to put up Monique's comment again, because this is what I was actually going to say. This is a really interesting point. So one of the biggest issues, and the question that we're asking originally is, can he be a top 10 quarterback? If you add 2 words to that, can he be a top 10 quarterback this year? Mm-hmm. Right now, the answer is no, because we are a week into the offseason. Yep. And we have no idea who QB1 is. We have a room in our waiting room. That was actually the original
question. Then we transformed.
We have a waiting room.
The original question for tonight was, can he be a quarterback 1? And then we switched it up.
We have in our waiting room right now of our account here, a Carson Wentz has been traded show ready to go. We've had it ready to go for 2.5 weeks now. And the fact is, without that one piece of it, either he's going to be traded or he's not. This will he, won't he, Ross and Rachel nonsense, it's not getting any friends. And what's going to happen is that you're going to see what I did there. That's a segue.
I saw it. It was stupid and cheesy, and I hated it.
It was insane.
But I saw it.
And the problem
we lost 75,000 viewers on that one show.
The problem is that if you have 2 alphas going in saying I'm QB1, no, I'm QB1, then you have the veterans going, we're still friends with Carson Wentz. You have all the young guys going, we're friends with Jalen Hurts, and you have a divide in your locker room that you immediately have to gorilla glue.
Yeah, I agree. And there is going to be that divide no matter what, unless they make that decision right now.
Mm-hmm. But Johnny, the thing with the quarterback is, they could be saying, "Oh, we may go quarterback," could be throwing it out to teams that when the quarterbacks fall, trade up and get packaged. There's work in there. It's not just saying, "Oh, we're not going to tell you our draft strategy." So them saying that isn't saying this is our draft strategy. We're going to draft the quarterback. That's not the way the Eagles do it. That's not. And for them to say that we made a mistake by drafting Jalen Hurts with the 2nd round pick, that's another thing they don't do. They don't come out and say they make mistakes. They always give their draft picks opportunity to show what they can do. We've seen it year in and year out. They're not going to change their philosophy just because of this year. So
look, we're having this conversation about Jalen Hurts and what he can be because of the fact that the Wentz trade, we spent all last week talking about it. It's going to happen. I think it's a 99.9%. It's a done deal. It's going to happen. It's debatable on the percentage. But the reason why we're having the Jalen Hurts talk this week is because of the rumors that the Eagles may draft a quarterback in the 1st round. And there's a lot of people that totally disagree with that.
I mean, we're a quarterback factory.
And I know you just spent a 2nd round pick on Jalen Hurts last year.
But that's not much. If they feel that one of these guys in the 1st round of the draft is superior and better than Jalen Hurts on their draft board, they're not. Why else would they be at Trevor Lawrence's pro day?
That's why we're talking about Jalen Hurts, is because if we don't think he could be a top 10 quarterback, top 20 quarterback this year, top 10 quarterback the year after that, then you actually have to consider going with a quarterback in the 1st round, because when you have a top 6 pick, you don't get top 6 picks in a major market team like the Eagles that are consistently a winning team, you don't get top 6 picks where you can draft a quarterback every year. And you don't get the opportunity to trade up like you did for Carson Wentz all the time.
Or that man quality quarterbacks in the first round.
3, 4, 5 first-round graded quarterbacks this year.
Franchise-changing quarterbacks. That's the key phrase here. Franchise change. Number 6
is Jalen Hurts that quarterback?
No.
So let's
as of right now, no.
What? No,
as of right now, no.
Let's move over to Johnny because he's Mr. Draft Show, Draft Talk on Saturday nights, 9 o'clock. Johnny and Tom do that show. Breaks down. He literally knows everything about every college prospect. So I gave Johnny the project. What was the draft reports, the draft grades, the information going into the draft on Jalen Hurts? Because I did not see Jalen Hurts as a second-round quarterback. I saw him as a third or a fourth-round quarterback. I loved what he did in college, but I didn't think he was a second-round guy. So what were the reports on him coming out in college?
So, of course, the report in what we already saw on the field, explosive athlete, super elusive. We saw that on the field. So that's 100% of what Jalen Hurts is. But he also has off-the-charts intangibles, which is also pretty important, especially at the quarterback position. But the one note, and I kept seeing it on everything, and I noticed that watching his college film too, and when people brought it up, it irked me because they're not watching the film, is he possesses plus strength, plus arm strength, able to make the throws on the field. And there's multiple times that you could see in it, yeah, okay, he missed the play there, Every quarterback does. So he has all that. The other thing that was great, and it was something I read from a lot of teammates, said they raved about his composure from the sidelines. As Tua took over, he still kept his composure, the team leader aspect.
And he did that this year with Carson Wentz.
Yep. And then the other thing is, same thing, he's his team captain at Oklahoma. And the whole thing about, he left, he quit to go to Oklahoma. That's the biggest nonsense, because Kyler Murray did it, Baker Mayfield did it, Joe Burrow did it. They do it because they're getting their draft stock. So that point I always put invalid. Now the weaknesses you see is, the size aspect. People always say the size aspect. But the funny thing is Justin Fields, who's a top quality, is not that much bigger than Jalen Hurts. So give that. But of course, reckless with the ball, holds the ball a little too long. But you look at those, and I mentioned it on when Jalen Hurts was starting. Greg Cosell said a lot of what he's seeing Jalen Hurts do was not what he saw on tape at Oklahoma. So he changed a little bit, which is a good thing. You want to see development, especially in a rookie quarterback.
Change, you want to see development. You don't want to necessarily see change. Change could be for the better. Change could be for the worse. So you want to see development.
Well, in that aspect, I would say it's development, not change. It was development.
Okay.
And the one thing that you said that I want to reflect on there, Johnny, is you mentioned that he was so composed when he was benched for Tua, and he was composed when Carson Wentz was starting and he wasn't. So was Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz was the ultimate teammate when he was put on the bench. He was there talking. He was there on the side. He was doing what he needed to do. So that's just the sign of being a good teammate. I think the more important thing here is, once again, he was able to showcase, you talk about changing, he was able to showcase what some of his highlights were and his talents were under a Doug Peterson offense that was pathetic. It was a pathetic offense this year, and he still put up numbers like that. So again, it's going to tie into, and I know we have this coming up, what is Nick Sirianni planning on doing with the weapons that he has in the locker room right now?
But, I'll take that point and switch it to, because their offensive coordinator, Shane Steichen. Shane Steichen was with Justin Herbert last year, who was another rookie quarterback. And you saw the beginning of the season, there was a little bit of struggles with that. But as the season progressed, Justin Herbert turned into one of the top quarterbacks coming out.
Should have been rookie of the year.
He was rookie of the year. Though, Johnny, what was his draft grade? Was he consistently a second-round grade at quarterback?
I thought he was going to go in the third round. My personal opinion, I thought it would be the third round.
Well, I don't know if you remember what the Mel Kipers and the Todd McShays and those guys, the experts, what they thought of it.
They're all in what you said, the third, fourth round range.
Yeah.
That's kind of what they thought. They had a lot of issues with the size aspect and everything. They kept bringing up we talked about the Taysom Hill thing. And I know when it first happened, you and I, how many shows did we have talking about the decision because it was the talk, but the Taysom Hill aspect, which I think is the furthest thing. Watching Jalen Hurts play, and we saw Taysom Hill when he played the Eagles. They're totally two different quarterbacks. They're nowhere comparable. But that's what a lot of people compared it to. Especially,
Jeff, do you have anything to add on the comparing him from college to now? I mean, have you seen that progress or any progress that leads to at least think that maybe someday he could be a top 10?
I would say you've seen a little bit of progress there, especially in a pro-ready system. And I would say, like Chip said, I would say the offensive game plan, I would say it was very vanilla. And I would say the way that Doug Peterson game planned with Hurts, I would say let's see what Sirianni can do with a real game plan and see what he can do. I just said this. My thing is the sample size isn't there to judge him completely. I'll say he had some highs, he had some lows. I'll say there's a little bit of in between. It's a wait and see game. It's just the thing is, do the Eagles have faith in him to be that guy this season? Which is why I feel they're doing. I know people are saying they're doing their due diligence by looking at one of the rookies, but I honestly feel like. They said this is a rebuilding process, that this thing's in rebuilding mode, that every position is available when it comes to rebuilding and improving, whether it's quarterback or anything else.
Which we don't want to get too far into the draft.
No.
But, what do you do when you're rebuilding? You look for a quarterback and you look for a left tackle. Mm-hmm. You don't look for wide receivers. You don't look for cornerbacks. You don't look for, edge rushers. You look for your franchise quarterback and you look for somebody to protect his blind side. That's the two key things. And I got bashed when I said that Sewell, if he was there at 6, you have to take him because he's a cornerstone of the offensive line for the next 10 or 12 years. The same thing about Fields. If you're confident – see, I'm not as confident as others in Justin Fields and some of these other rookies. Trevor Lawrence is the only quarterback in this draft that I would be like, as a can't miss, could be a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback. The others, I have question marks on every single one of them.
My biggest issue, and I saw it today, and I got very bad vibes, and I'll just leave it like this. Zach Wilson from BYU, I have Mitchell Trubisky vibes all around. One great – I'll just say that, and I'll leave it there. I know.
Yeah, because again, the draft talk for the draft talk show. Right. You try to break it down a little bit, but we'll save that for all the experts on that show.
But the mentioning to drafting a quarterback at 6 or I've said this for weeks now. The Eagles are going to trade the number 6 pick. They have got to get more draft capital because they're going to trade.
Down.
They're going to trade.
They probably
back.
are, but they could trade up if they really
could.
like.
But again,
they
have so many glaring holes on this team that maybe Jalen Hurts is the quarterback, the QB1 of now, and if he develops into something, awesome. And if he doesn't, we're in a rebuild, so it's okay. It's the ultimate Bobby Hoying situation all over again.
But I would say one of the toughest positions to hit on is the quarterback position. So if they feel that one of these rookie quarterbacks is their guy, I feel they're going to go for it. Because like we said, this is a rebuilding process. This is a 3 to 4 year process. You're not going to fix all the holes in one offseason. So in their eyes, if with this many good quarterbacks possibly in the first round, you could see them taking that and then filling those holes later on in the next couple of years.
So,
but in the meantime, if you do that, and I know we'll do this on the draft show, but if they do that, how many hits is that quarterback taking right now behind insufficient blocking?
Absolutely.
So by the time that they're ready to compete, he can't physically stand.
Which is why I feel they're still going to bring a veteran here because we have to remember if they trade Carson, if they trade Carson, I would say if they draft a rookie, you cannot go into the offseason with Jalen Hurts as the backup because you're going to have that controversy again. So you're going to have to bring some type of veteran that might start in week 1 and then transition to the rookie further on, like a Cam Newton or whoever might be available in free agency. So
to answer Andrew's question here, the Wentz wanting out, it's a real thing. Whether it's Wentz wanting out or Roseman wanting him out. I mean, that's why we spent all last week, breaking down all the different trade possibilities. This week we're talking about Jalen Hurts because it seems like Jalen Hurts will be our quarterback at least week 1 next year. So that brings into the one positive trait that I think we all agree on.
Yeah.
Is his leadership. And there are reports already that he's gathering or planning on gathering all the young wide receivers, all the young weapons with him in Texas to start working out, doing drills to get better for next year, which is a great leadership sign. But it also shows that Carson Wentz isn't doing that either, which just further to answer the question, furthers along that Carson Wentz isn't going to be here. If he's not even talked about, working out with the older guys in Alshon Jeffries or, Deshaun Jackson. So what's it say about Jalen Hurts' leadership already that he's already organizing team activities in the offseason?
So I personally don't take stock in the Carson Wentz hasn't said anything thing, because you think about it. He was sat on the bench for the last 4 weeks of the season, right? Mm-hmm. You got a new coach coming in, so he's got to build that relationship first. He's got a new baby at home. He almost sat out the season. You know what he's doing is he's taking – we're not expecting all these other quarterbacks to talk. We're not expecting either starting quarterbacks or backup quarterbacks to talk. If they so choose, great. But for some reason, the fact that Carson Wentz isn't talking is saying that he wants out. I don't buy into that. Now, if he wants out, he's going to say, I want out, and they're going to move him on. I've also said this, I don't know if he's not here in August. Yeah, because we have a very steep asking
get
price.
Rid of him or not get rid of him for the right price or not price. And to address the whole him being silent aspect of it, if he's silent, every radio station, podcast, every Joe Schmo on the internet is breaking down the fact of why he's silent.
And it's every word.
Speaks, they're going to break down every word and try to find a negative aspect of what he said, his body language, while saying it.
It's a lose-lose situation, though.
Right.
Like exactly.
He got absolutely crapped on because he did his charity. His charity had a fundraiser, and he went on and put a video on about that. Oh, but he can't talk about football? No, he's talking about his charity. Are we getting pissed off that Alex Singleton is talking about Special Olympics and not about his career as a linebacker for the
It's not that he's posting about his charity. It's the fact I'll say this was a guy that was usually very vocal on social media in regards to football and off football things. And the fact that ever since this all came about the possible trade possibility, and I would say him possibly not being in Eagles uniform, he's kept his mouth shut. And especially on Doug Peterson getting fired. So obviously he said he had nothing to say about there. He said nothing about Nick Sirianni getting hired. Like, hey, I'm looking forward to playing with this head coach, which I understand it's a little bit speculation. It might be a little bit overblown, but it's usually silent. I would say sometimes silence is greater than words being said. And the fact that he's not saying anything whatsoever. The only thing he brought up about football was Rodney McLeod winning that award.
But he did kind of back himself into a corner. So he didn't say anything about Doug Peterson being fired because he didn't do his airing of dirty laundries, his airing of grievances, which was the right thing to do. It came across as professional. If he then goes out and goes, oh, I'm so excited about Nick Sirianni, then it comes back and attacks him. Well, why didn't you say anything about Doug Peterson? He can't win. And that is the reason why I think Carson Wentz is gone. Right? Because he can't – nothing he does, he can win here. He cannot win in Philadelphia with the half of the fan base, with half of the locker room. He needs a fresh start.
Well, that comment you just put up before from Matt, the one about BG talked about it. There were a couple players that did say something. So it wasn't saying that nobody said anything.
That I'll say, even in the past, there's been players I would say that always bring up about head coach getting fired, or if they were close with them or they drafted them, they would make comments. So I'll say, remember, Doug Peterson and Carson Wentz, that was his first draft. They were tied at the hip that first year.
True.
Absolutely. So, Carson and Doug were a really tight duo.
Yeah.
And talking about the draft stuff, that to me is where the number 6 pick gets interesting. All head coaches, unless you are talking about an Aaron Rodgers, a Tom Brady, one of those elite top 5s, all new coaches should get the opportunity to pick the quarterback that they want.
Just like GMs, if Howie gets fired, the new GM gets to pick his coach that he's tied to the hip with. Same thing with the coach.
Nick Sirianni is a new coach. Now, we know that Howie's going to build him his roster, right? Nick Sirianni even said that Howie's going to give me a roster, and hopefully I get to pick the 53 to play. But does Nick Sirianni get to pick his quarterback at 6?
It's an interesting question. which transitions into the Nick Sirianni question, which was going to be the next question and all.
See how I did that for you?
I know. I was actually.
I got two monitors.
But before you said that, I was going to skip a few questions because you were leading into something else. But anyway, so Nick Sirianni, the one thing that we've heard about him 100 times over is he caters to his players' strengths.
Yes.
So what does Nick Sirianni got to do with the offense? And we'll phrase the second question into it. The assistants, are they the right assistants that he's brought on to do this and all? What does he need to do to make Jalen Hurts as close to a top 10 quarterback as possible this year or going forward? Johnny.
So you look at Nick Sirianni, what he does with, and of course we have to see what the offense is going to look like, what players they're going to bring in. But as of what you see right now, you have players that we thought were going to be used a certain way, like a Jalen Reagor, and then you have John Hightower, Quez Watkins, and Travis Fulgham, and you have these different players that you thought, Dallas Goedert, Miles Sanders. They run the ball a lot. They did in Indianapolis, so that's a benefit to some of the players there. But the assistants are what I'm kind of looking at with Shane Steichen and what he did with Justin Herbert, Brian Johnson, who has known Jalen Hurts since he was 4 years old, but also was the college coach of Dak Prescott and was also the college coach of Kyle Trask, who elevated play. Yeah. So that makes, to me, that bodes well, and that puts a lot of stock. I put a lot of stock into that. But you watch Indianapolis, and you see what they did with the players that they had on the field on the offensive side of the ball. They weren't home run hitters. T.Y. Hilton's in his 30s. He's not an all-pro receiver. It gives me hope. That's one thing I'll say it gives me hope. I don't know how you guys feel, but that's just how I feel with the offense and what I've seen with the Colts. I talked about the Colts this year.
I'm looking more for like what kind of an offense do they need to run, and what kind of support do they need to give him? Like, just run the ball. I mean, do they need to get away from the 12 type of offense?
I don't think they're going to.
I don't think they're going to either. But what do they need to do, Jeff, to make Jalen Hurts look good even?
Well, first you have to have like we brought up before, you have to have the players and the right people around him. So for Jalen Hurts to be successful, I would say, and I know Sirianni, we brought up before, he says that he's going to cater to his players' strengths. I'll say there's certain things that I would say that Hurts does well. There's certain things he does bad. So I would say it's going to be a big job for Sirianni this offseason to look at that game tape and to try to focus and find those strengths and those weaknesses to make sure he game plans well this season. But I would say the one thing that I would say the Eagles offense really needs to get back to do, which they need to get back with by building that offensive line, they need to get that screen game going. I would say that was the one thing that I would say that the Eagles have always ran well, and you have supposedly one of the better receiving backs of Miles Sanders, which this year he struggled. I would say he had.
I was going to cut you on that.
We can have a whole episode on how I'm not a Miles Sanders fan.
But I'm saying, coming out of college, I would say he was considered one of the top receiving back coming out of college, coming from Penn State. And I would say his rookie year, he played well too. But I would say the one issue that we had last year, which we're so used to an athletic left tackle with Jason Peters getting out there in open space to create those blocks downfield in the screen game. That's something that we're going to need to build upon. And Sirianni's got to find a way to get back into the game plan to find success with, because that takes a lot of pressure off your quarterback. Because like we brought before, the one thing with Jalen Hurts is his accuracy, which is one of his weaknesses. I'll say that improves a quarterback's accuracy, and that was the one thing he did well or excelled with in college and found success with.
I was just going to say, before Chip goes, wasn't he like a 70% completion passer in college?
Yeah.
70% of his
passes. A lot of the screen game.
Screen game, shorter throws and everything.
Yeah.
Which reads, is what Sirianni does.
1, 2, 3, RPOs, that is the kind of thing. So that's where Nick Sirianni's got to see. That worked at Oklahoma. That worked at Alabama. What we did last year didn't work. So then find that middle ground, Chip.
And for me, what I think we need to go back to, so what we saw at the end of last year especially is each of the players on the roster had a very clear job, right? Hightower's job was to run 60 yards downfield and try and locate the ball. That was his only job. Quez Watkins' job was to stay on the sideline. Reagor's job was to occasionally touch the ball, right? Everybody had very clear jobs. We need to go back to each weapon being a Swiss Army knife. right? So Miles Sanders can carry the ball. He can also catch the ball. That's got to be a skill we build again. Wide receivers who can go over the middle, but can also have the speed to, on a double move, get by a corner. That was the issue. Everything was so pigeonholed that everything was predictable. Nick Sirianni's got to build an offense where the RPOs are actually a legitimate threat, where a screen game is a legitimate threat, where a reverse is a legitimate threat. That's what Jalen Hurts needs. And that's where you're going to see those accuracy numbers coming back up when they are the quick 3-step drops and fires. And then all of a sudden he can showcase the big arm because that one guy has drifted behind the single high safety again.
So I'm going to ask you a question, Chip. Name me some of the coaches and the offensive minds currently in the NFL as coaches that are considered innovators.
Dana Bible. No, I'm kidding.
So I look at most people watching the show don't know who Dana Bible is, though. You either have to look at a guy old like me or really knowledgeable to know Dana Bible.
So I look at a guy like Sean Payton, right?
Okay.
Who?
Right. I mean, I don't need descriptions.
Oh, okay.
Just names. I just want names.
You look at a guy like Sean Payton.
Sean Payton.
You look at a guy like Andy Reid, who utilizes all of his weapons, or he lets the enemy utilize the weapons. You look at a guy, Sean Payton.
Sean McVay, Cliff Kingsbury.
Yep.
Yeah. There's a lot of names of innovative. Kyle Shanahan's a great one. Yeah. What do they?
I was thinking playoffs. I was so streamlined.
They do one thing. They run a lot of, magic, a little, misdirection, a little dipsy-do here and there. What do they really actually do? Quick passes, screen passes, quick RPOs. There really isn't. When we lost to the Rams in week 2 or 3, whatever it was, they didn't run this fancy offense.
They do.
They right.
You scheme the receivers open. You don't.
They do this little zippity-doo-dah nonsense before the play, but and really the offense is very basic and quick. And I think that's what Nick Sirianni needs to do is design that misdirection because it's tough for a defense when you've got one wide receiver going this way, one wide receiver going this way. You got whatever going else everywhere else. It gets people open and it makes quick decisions easy. Jeff,
right? And you. Well, sorry.
Jeff was leaning forward like he had something.
No, I'm just.
He's good.
I'm good.
No, you look at some of the elite talent in this league, right? Tyreek Hill, we know, can fly by 70 yards,
but he's running in the backfield before the play in 9.
But that's what I was going to say. You got to get the ball into your playmakers' hands quicker so that they can then make people miss.
Quicker and also in space.
And in space, exactly.
That's the biggest thing is, you look at a player like Nyheim Hines. Can they make Boston Scott kind of do what something Nyheim Hines did? Zach Pascal with Fulgham, using some of these players that they had and be able to develop. And that's the key word, develop. Because that's what you're going to need to do with the players that are on the offensive side of the ball, is even the defense side of the ball too. But you need to develop these players. And that's what we have not seen the past couple of years. And that's why you've had to go out and get free agents. So
right. And that's what you saw. That's what you saw with Doug Peterson and the Howie Roseman teams of the past is that they bring in the players to fill in the holes, but they're already developed players. You haven't seen player development in years. That's got to be the cornerstone of the Nick Sirianni era. You have got to develop players into what you need. You got to mold them. You have a bunch of Play-Doh players, like a bunch of clay. Mold them into these studs.
So, sorry, Jeff, go ahead.
I was saying, and I know we want to criticize Howie over the years. Like, hey, they passed on DK Metcalf, they passed on Justin Jefferson, all these guys. We don't know if these guys were drafted by Philly, if they were even gonna develop into the players that they are now. And
that's what I want to say. So I saw an interesting tweet. I forget who I saw it by today. It leads into the next question. Sometimes, these quarterbacks that have great, college, performances don't develop into superstar NFL quarterbacks. And sometimes it's because they're just not good enough. But sometimes it's because you're going to a poor organization that develops players poorly. Okay. So the question is that we're going to pose next.
The Lions.
Yeah, there you go. How many well, they had a quarterback though, so that's a bad example.
Look how many years it took them to develop a wide receiver though until they got Calvin.
Exactly. So that's the thing though. will this offense, as constructed, the talent on this offense, even if they draft a playmaker, is how bad this offense is as a whole, because it's not going to take one move to make this offense better. Is that going to actually stop Jalen Hurts from developing? Anybody?
Yes.
I think they need to get a playmaker. We've screamed for it. How many years have we said get the playmaker? You know, Justin
one
Jefferson,
playmaker makes a difference.
I think so.
It can if it's the right one.
It can, yes. But the thing is, it's not the end-all, be-all. You have to build a team. You can have a playmaker. You can have a Calvin Johnson, but it doesn't mean you're going to win anything. Sorry, Jason. It's the Detroit Lions reference. But,
we're just bashing all over Jason's Lions here tonight, here in the last half hour of this show.
That's all right.
Is he going to bite our kneecaps?
I think there's enough of an issue on this offense that even if they draft a playmaker, and we don't have a history of developing playmakers, I don't think I'm saying it's going to hurt Jalen Hurts' development, the whole entire team. I think if you take Jalen Hurts off the Eagles and put him with a proper organization that knows how to develop a team and a quarterback, he could be a top 10, 12 quarterback in this league. Yeah. But on this team, with the talent he's got around him, with Howie Roseman calling the shots, I don't think he could develop there. I think the whole team is a detriment to his development.
So
No, go ahead, Chip.
No, I'm going to go with the power of positivity here. Okay? So earlier on, you asked me,
That's a long question there.
Yeah. I'm not covered up. Yay.
Earlier on.
We'll make that happen real quick.
So earlier on,
Bye, Johnny.
We said, is Jalen Hurts a top 15 quarterback in the league? And I said no.
Top 10.
Here's my power of positivity. If Nick Sirianni is the teacher that everybody says he is, and he is the player developer that everybody says he is, what we are going to see is it's not just the focus on developing Jalen Hurts. It's going to be a development where all of the players are kind of developed at the same time. Which, if you think about the success, and I'm going to change sports for a second. If you think about the Philadelphia Phillies when they were having their runs, right? It wasn't that Ryan Howard was the only one developing, or Jimmy Rollins. It was Ryan Howard, Jimmy Rollins, Chase Utley, all developing at the same time. The big three. You see it with Ben Simmons. You see it with Joel Embiid. You need to see that now from the NFL. You need to see that with Jalen Hurts and Jalen Reagor and Miles Sanders and Dallas Scott. They have to all develop into superstars.
We can name 15
together on these younger contracts too, so that we can see what holes we need filled. It's going to come from coaching. It's going to come from player development.
Yeah.
Somebody was trying to interrupt Chip there. I was waiting for you to go there.
Well, no, I was going to bring up his reference about the Phillies. It's a little bit different with developing when it comes to baseball, when I would say a lot of the stats are individuals and not a team like football. Where football, they all need to gel together to play as one. So I would say I understood his reference because they all excelled at the right time.
Yeah, I agree with you.
A little bit of a different circumstance.
Sure. Yeah.
The basketball one, yes. The basketball one worked.
They all work. World effing champions. World effing champions.
But I'll say this, to stick on the positivity and answer the question, I'll say we know it. The Eagles need a playmaker. I'll say we have too much of an unknown with Jalen Reagor. Alshon Jeffrey and Deshaun Jackson are most likely on their way out. We don't really have anyone. I would say Dallas Goedert had a down season when we expected a big year from him. But the Eagles have pieces in place. I would say I know they have a lot of holes, but they still have pieces. They have Miles Sanders. I would say who can be developed to be one of the top backs in the league. I would say they have some quality players along the offensive line if they return to their former selves, like Lane Johnson and Brandon Brooks. I'll say there's still a little bit unknown with Andre Dillard, but I'll say
get him gone. Get him gone. Dillard needs to go.
Well, I'll say Mailata, I'll say we all agreed that I'll say played well last year. But yeah, I know you disagree, Phil. But
I disagree with pretty much every player you said there.
They have a couple of players in place.
I'm going to pick the cornerstones that could develop with Jalen Hurts to help this team move forward. None of the guys you said are the guys.
We don't have anyone else.
Wes Watkins, Jordan Mailata, they're the guys that you're going to develop with Jalen Hurts to take the next step forward.
Well,
Miller could go. Lane Johnson is now the new Jason Peters. Brandon Brooks, 3 season-ending injuries in the last 3 years. You can't count on these guys. So
yeah, but the thing, the thing about that though is they still have to draft another lineman, I would say, but you have we don't know what you have in Andre Dillard. We bashed Mailata, wanted him gone because you didn't see much out of him.
I admit I was wrong on Jordan Mailata. Jordan Mailata totally exceeded expectations last year. He did. It wasn't as small as Jalen Hurts, but it was still a small sample size because he literally has never played in a football game outside of preseason before last year.
We still have Herbig. You have some pieces that
Herbig, Jack Driscoll.
They're not Jack Driscoll.
They're not all pros, but I'm saying, I would say the one thing that we critiqued and criticized was the coaching. So I would say with a new coaching staff, let's see if he can utilize these mediocre players to their strengths so they can at least be producible. And my point is there's still too many unknowns. We know that we need a playmaker, and that's what I'll say. That's what a quarterback needs. They need a playmaker to rely on. They need that security blanket. They need to build that chemistry. And especially if Hurts is the guy for the future, if he is your franchise quarterback, you want that 1-2 punch with the quarterback and the wide receiver to develop for the future.
All right, so that's a great segue. Yes, I know. Chip's finally going to focus on the episode now.
I have been very good.
In, the Sixers game's over. So welcome to all the people watching the Sixers game. Sixers won. Welcome Chip to the show because now he's paying attention. It's about time. So we're going to lead into that. You're saying if we all want an offensive playmaker, except for me, I want a defensive playmaker in the draft. But can you fault Howie at this point? Forget about the fact that he made a bad pick with Jalen Hurts last year. Jalen Hurts is here now. Can you fault him for drafting a quarterback with that first-round pick? Y'all look so ready to answer that question. Johnny's eyes are like,
You can't fault him. Like I brought up before, if there's a guy that they feel is a better quarterback for this franchise, for the rebuild, for the future, they're going to take him. And I'll say they're a quarterback factory. I'll say they'll move on from Jalen Hurts as well. I feel if they draft a rookie quarterback, they'll bring a veteran here, move on from Carson and Jalen Hurts, because you cannot start the season with a quarterback controversy like a listener brought up before. The Arizona Cardinals, they drafted Kyler Murray and they knew that he had to be the guy going to the season, and they traded Josh Rosen.
So, Jeff,
that comment from earlier, I was waiting to bring that back up. It's a great comment. Johnny, go.
But the way I see it here is I'm going to talk about Howie Roseman and what he did. So back in 2012, he waited in the second round, went through his 2 picks, waited in the third round, wanted to get a certain player, didn't get it. Did not wait in the second round because he liked the player. Not saying he's the same type of player, but he liked the type of player and didn't want to wait until the next round to potentially lose him. So for me, I understand if he likes a player in the first round, top 6 or whatever, quarterback. Honestly, I feel that's not going to happen. I think it's a 0% chance, and I'll say it's 0%. They draft a quarterback. I'll admit that I was wrong. Can
we put you through a table if they draft a quarterback?
Yes.
3-1. Johnny goes through a table if they draft a quarterback. So here I go, champion.
In the first round.
Yeah, in the first round, anywhere.
In the first
Johnny
round.
goes through a table.
But I don't see it happening because this is the guy that they wanted in the second round. They made sure that they got.
But is that the guy that they wanted? Because I'll add into the question. There's been a lot of talk going on lately, and I even saw 2 or 3 tweets from reporters today that Howie Roseman didn't want Jalen Reagor at that spot. Jeffrey Lurie did. And Howie Roseman does whatever Jeffrey Lurie says. Just like Howie Roseman has control over the coaching, Jeffrey Lurie has control over Howie Roseman.
Well, if it's Jeffrey Lurie, though, if he wanted him, why would he go and pick another quarterback?
So I'm going to start off by saying, number one, I don't think they draft anybody at 6. I am convinced.
47.321 times.
I am convinced they trade this pick. Now,
and up or down?
Almost out of the first round, in my opinion. Like we're talking like 31, 30.
If they trade it, they'll trade to 9 or 10 max.
If they trade almost out of the first round, they better at least get multiple like first and second round picks for the next couple years.
Well, that's what I think is going to happen. Now, with that being said, if they do draft at 6, They are going to draft the best available player. And as I said just a couple minutes ago, with Nick Sirianni being the new coach, he's going to want a say in who's playing quarterback for him because new coach gets to pick a quarterback. If that's Jalen Hurts and he thinks he can save Jalen Hurts, then he's going to go with Jalen Hurts and they will draft somebody at 6. If I wouldn't be surprised, though, if Justin Fields is there. I hate Ohio State and I hate Ohio State quarterbacks.
Has there ever been an Ohio State quarterback that succeeded in the NFL?
Nope.
I hate Ohio State quarterbacks.
Nope.
But again, you're asking a question that implies that maybe Howie's the smartest person in the room, maybe Jeffrey Lurie's the smartest person in the room, and that they know that Justin Fields will be the first Ohio State quarterback to be successful. So they will look like geniuses and the exception to the rule for drafting. This is the ridiculous logic we have to look at.
We do have to look at ridiculous logic.
It's insane. But I do think if Justin Fields falls to 6,
and he probably
they
will.
could take him. They could take him.
But I'll say, to go back to Johnny's point, Johnny made the comment saying that the Eagles wanted Jalen Hurts. They wanted him to be their starting quarterback. That's why they drafted him. We don't know if that's the case. I'll say we did not expect the saga and the drama that was Carson Wentz in this offseason. So now I would say it changes the complete atmosphere of what their long-term plan was when it came to this franchise. And that process and that plan might be starting with the new quarterback. Because I honestly felt, they drafted Jalen Hurts as a possible replacement for Carson Wentz down the line, not 1 year, not 1 year into it. So
that's a great point because I literally about 20, 30 minutes before we joined this stream here, I saw it on Twitter and I rewatched it. Was Howie Roseman's press conference answer after drafting Jalen Hurts, and it was, about the commitment to Carson Wentz, and he was saying, I think we've shown our commitment to Carson Wentz. We traded how many picks to get him. We gave him a used contract. They didn't expect Carson Wentz to fall off as much as he did.
It was a historic fall.
It is probably one of the quickest and fastest falls from grace and drop in talent that I've ever seen.
In NFL history.
I'm 40 years old. I've probably been paying close attention to football for 35, 36 years now. I've never seen a fall like this. And it's unfortunate.
And you knew you needed a functional backup quarterback, right? You thought
and they needed a functional backup quarterback cheap because of their cap issues. And a second-round quarterback is cheaper than signing a backup quarterback.
And Nate Sudfeld, even though he's the best deep ball thrower on the roster,
he was unstoppable in that game.
So again, the logic is that Nate Sudfeld was so good that he was going to be a starter somewhere in the NFL in 2021-22, right? That was actually said. So they said, we'll get Jalen Hurts, we'll develop him, he'll be a backup quarterback. But you don't draft backup quarterbacks in the first and second round of the NFL draft. You expect them to be contributors every single snap by the end of their first year going into their second. You draft Jalen Hurts when you have Carson Wentz prior to whatever this season was. Carson Wentz had a NFL historic fall from grace. Nobody saw this coming.
But before the season, we knew Carson Wentz was the quarterback, but you drafted Jalen Hurts, you knew it was going to come up that you're drafting the second-round quarterback. That talk was going to be there, whether Carson struggled or not.
There was going to be talk.
It made it louder. The thing is, him struggling made everything even louder and louder and louder and louder.
Because again, a second-round pick is supposed to contribute. Even when they drafted Clayton Thorson, what was it, the 5th round?
Oh.
You expected him to contribute or at least be a functional backup by year 3, 4, 5. There's tiers to when you draft players. Jalen Reagor was supposed to be an everyday contributor first year.
Look at I'll say Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie, they always have that model of trying to be like the New England Patriots. And what round did the New England Patriots draft Jimmy Garoppolo? The second round, and they turned it and flipped him for future compensation. I would say the Eagles, I would say, yes, your first 3 rounds, I agree with you. They need you need contribution from, which is why the pick was so bizarre and out of left field, because why the hell are you going to draft a quarterback? But Howie and Jeffrey Lurie, they don't think now. They think long term, and they always think towards the future. And
I disagree so hard
with Jeff on this. They always are thinking long term. That's why they want that Andy Reid 12-year window of winning kind of thing.
No, and and I've said this too. You saw them plugging holes with veteran players because they wanted to win. They even said
plan that didn't work out.
They even said 2017 we won, 2018 we were ready to go, 2019 we thought we were still right there. So all we did is we plugged. We knew this was going to be an off year. They said it.
I'm not saying with every position. I'm saying when it came to the quarterback position and the way this league is becoming a quarterback-needed league, they were going to try to develop a guy that can sit the bench behind potentially an MVP caliber quarterback with Carson Wentz and a Super Bowl winning head coach with Doug Peterson that we could flip later on. So that's what I meant by long term. I didn't mean like as a
that I agree with. That I agree with, because again they looked long term and they said Nate Sudfeld's so good. That he won't be here next season. Nate Sudfeld.
To Jeff's point, and they do think of the future, 2016 to 2017 wasn't supposed to be a Super Bowl year. It accelerated the process for 2018, 2019. And that's where you get into this situation, and that's why you have all this, and that's why you have the contract issues, because of what you did in those prior years. But they are looking for the future. It goes to your point, Chip, of the smartest in the room. Did they see certain things or hear certain things about Carson Wentz in terms of his, abilities and, whatever it may be, that you draft a player that could possibly take over if something were to happen? Not saying that's what it was, but the smartest in the room aspect is always there. It's always lying there in the weeds.
But honestly, the whole smartest in the room comment, isn't that like every GM that feels that way? I'm pretty sure if we went and listened to, pick a random city, Cincinnati Bengals, podcast, they probably think their GMs think that they're the smartest guy in the room. The Patriots GMs, Bill Belichick, thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. That's why it is in every city, though.
I don't necessarily agree with that, because if you look at a team like Cincinnati, right, them thinking they were the smartest person in the room would have been they would have seen something else and they would have taken Herbert over Burrows, right? Burrows was the sure pick. They didn't try and outsmart anybody. They said Joe Burrows is the number 1 pick in the draft. That is who we're taking. Right? They didn't try and outthink anybody. Carson Wentz was an MVP caliber player going into last season. There was no need for a quarterback. You had gotten rid of the Nick Foles drama. You had your Super Bowl winning head coach. They made a mistake by taking Jalen Hurts. They added drama in a room that didn't need it.
Mm-hmm.
So to bring up Johnny's point again, that the Super Bowl in 2017 accelerated and changed everything. If they don't win that Super Bowl in 2017, and just Carson Wentz continues on a progression. He gets hurt at the end of the year. Nick Foles does whatever. We lose in the playoffs. 2018, maybe the trajectory is going in a different direction, and maybe Carson Wentz is an even better quarterback now because that pressure isn't there for him. And maybe Jalen Hurts never gets drafted here. Maybe we're not even an All About the Birds podcast at that point.
Nick Foles stays because he doesn't make that much money.
Exactly. So there's so much that changed because of that Super Bowl. I think it's an excellent point. And I'd say it's almost a point that we can anchor a show around. Did that, cause, unnecessary pressure on Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie to keep the pedal to the metal to continue to win?
I think it did. And the other thing is that you look and you see, all this talk around Carson Wentz this and Carson Wentz that, but Doug Peterson got fired. Right. So if Carson Wentz was really the problem, why not keep Doug Peterson? There is something wrong in that organization. And they're not telling us because here we are, just the everyday fans. But there is something wrong in the organization where you fire a Super Bowl winning coach who deserved to be fired.
Absolutely.
But the quarterback is the one dictating that maybe he wants to go to Indianapolis. Maybe he wants to go to the Bears. Maybe he hasn't said a goddamn word and everyone's just putting words in his mouth because he's a private guy and he doesn't want to talk. Now Jalen Hurts sucks. No, Jalen Hurts is great. They have got to shut us up and actually do something.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
They absolutely.
You know, I've said it on this show before. I always got sitting back here. I got my encyclopedia, Eagles Encyclopedia, the championship edition, signed by Ray Diddy himself.
Uh-huh.
I do not, every so many years, he updates this and sends out a new edition of it. I do not want to see the next edition and what he writes in this book about this current state of the Eagles. It's not a pleasant topic to want to read about.
It can't be. It can't be.
All right. So we're well over an hour now, which is our normal moment when we try to wrap things up. So I'm going to go round table. We'll start with Chip, then we'll go Jeff, then we'll go Johnny. We'll answer the question one more time here. Let me bring it back up on the banner screen here for everybody that's watching. Can Jalen Hurts be a top 10? I'll even change it a little bit. A top 10 to 15 quarterback this year, next year, or ever? Chip, you're first to wrap it up.
This year, no, because the team isn't good enough around him. In 2 years, no, because that would require an insane amount of player development on so many fronts that we just don't know. There's too many unknowns. Ever? No. I think he is a passable NFL quarterback. I think that he is in the 18 to 20 quarterback range. It's going to depend the players around him and if he can develop into what kind of coaching is he going to get. I think no.
Jeff?
Yeah, I agree with Chip. I at least in the next year or 2 years, meaning that was he's probably still on our roster. There's a reason why he wasn't considered a first-round talent coming out of college. I say he just wasn't ready to be a pro-level quarterback. He needs that development. He needs that coaching, which it's yet to be seen. I would say first year with the new coaching staff, what they're going to be able to do. But I say he needs time. I think maybe eventually with the right coaching and the right teaching, he could. But at least the next couple of years, I don't think so.
And how does that make you feel, Jeff?
Johnny, your turn. Can Jalen Hurts be a top 10 quarterback ever?
No.
I think like this year, it's kind of an open-ended question because I don't know what the roster looks like. To me, I already texted you guys.
Answer the question. I gave you a question. I want a definite answer from you right now.
Answer the question.
I put it in our chat. I think he has potential to be a top 10 quarterback, and I'll take the heat if he's not. But that's just how I feel. That's what I look like. Like I said, the ceiling could be he could be like Dak Prescott in terms of being really good, or the floor he could be a Tyrod Taylor, a marginal player. There are tiers there, but for me, I feel that with this coaching staff, the assistant coaches around them, and with the picks they have, and what they're going to be able to do, I feel that he can be a top 10 quarterback. And that's just my feeling on what I see on the film and what I've seen the growth from college to the first couple, 4 games of the year and not having an off season. I think there definitely is growth there. And I think it could happen. That's just and again, it's my personal feeling, but that's how I feel about it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm actually, it's strange to say this. I'm kind of leaning more towards Johnny's way. Can Jalen Hurts be a top 10 quarterback? Absolutely. This year, maybe not. Next year, possibly. Ever? Absolutely. I think he's got every skill set to be a top 10 quarterback. He's the type of quarterback that the NFL is going towards. The Kyler Murrays, the Patrick Mahomes. He's nowhere near Patrick Mahomes' level.
No.
I'm not saying that. Don't anybody start tweeting me that I call him Patrick Mahomes. I am not. But he is that style of quarterback. And I think
Russell Wilson,
in the right situation with the right team around him, he absolutely could be a top 10 quarterback.
So can I play host for a second here and change the premise of the question?
Nope. Yeah, you can. Go.
Here's the premise of the question. Can Jalen Hurts be a top 10 quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles? Or will he need a change of scenery to do it?
Question why it was because I wanted to be able to say he can somewhere else.
I think he can be a top 10, top 15 quarterback in this league for a different team.
I think he could be a top 15 quarterback, top 10 to 15 quarterback in this league this year with a different team.
Agreed.
And the thing is, before Jeff, I know Jeff looked like he was about to talk there, but we don't know what this team is yet. We don't know what Nick Sirianni's offense is yet. So he might be that top 10 to 12 quarterback this year, depending on Nick Sirianni may be this offensive genius that we just do not realize.
But
we don't
remember,
know.
we also don't know if he's even quarterback one of this team right now.
We don't. He could be 1, 2, or 3 on this team.
He could be top 15 quarterbacks in the quarterback room because there might be 14 other ones. Carson Wentz hasn't been traded yet. We don't know who QB1 is.
Jeff, you were so close to saying something when I said that.
Sorry.
And then I could see your lips moving like you wanted to say something.
No, I was gonna say, and I'll say the answer to the question: what do we all consider a top 10 quarterback? Do we expect this team to
hold on before you go on there? I said at the beginning of the show, if you look at the playoffs this year, and if you look at the Super Bowls the last 10 years, every team that plays in a Super Bowl has a top 15 quarterback.
Wait,
but I'm saying, what do
Nick Foles is not a top 15 quarterback.
Well,
there's an exception there.
He had a couple of exceptions, but are we considering passing yards, touchdowns? I would say there's so many tangibles when you compile a top 10 list or a top 15
list is wins, playoff bursts, Super Bowl appearances.
That's all I care about. I care about winning. And right now, I would say Jalen Hurts was below average when it came that he was 1-3 in his games with a QB rating of 77.6 and a Pro Football Focus rating of 56.2. So, granted, like I said, it's four.
PFF. Who cares about PFF? I bash them all the time.
The thing about the wins, Super Bowl appearances, all that kind of stuff, I think top 10 goes in terms of taking everything all like Dan Marino. I mean, all time. Like, you can't just say off of just that. You know, there's great players who didn't win anything. You take it all. Like, when you look at top 10 in the league now, you take it all into what they did, yards, wins, playoffs. All that comes in, quarterback rating, all that stuff comes into play.
I don't want a statistical quarterback with my team because most of the times they're not winning football games or winning playoff games. Look at Andrew Luck, for instance. He had great numbers when it came to
Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I would say Aaron Rodgers, NFC Championship games. He's a regular season quarterback. Peyton Manning, for the longest time, was a regular season quarterback. Right? He's a Hall of Famer, same with Rodgers. But I would say I want a guy that's going to help us win football games. If he has a horrible stat line or minimal yards with a couple of touchdowns or winning football games, that's all I freaking care about.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's that's all Eagles fans, period, care about is winning football games.
You play to win the game.
That's right.
Exactly.
Was thinking somebody would say it there. All right. Do we have anything else to say before I wrap this show up, kiddos?
No,
I think we're set.
Just
wrap this, Jim.
I'll say I'm sure you're going to mention it, but make sure to keep on checking out aatbirds.com for all the latest on the Philadelphia Eagles and the NFL draft in the offseason. A lot of great content this week by one of our new writers, Adam Mack, Dave Miller, and Sam Steiner. I'll say there's a couple great articles about Kyle Pitts, why he should go to the Philadelphia Eagles at 6 over Jamar Chase and Smith. Also, a couple quarterbacks are possibly on the move this offseason. Dave Miller gives you his insight on where he thinks they're going to go, and I forget Sam's article.
Great work. If you're going to talk, Sam, you can't forget the article.
Sam's been going position by position, should they stay or should they go?
Or that was Dave. Sam was the quarterback, I think.
Don't you guys know what your writers do?
There's so many. There's so many articles and so many great work. There's too many to keep track of. And I'm sorry.
And that's the thing. All About the Birds, it's growing. If you're interested in joining All About the Birds, whether it's writing, whether it's podcasting, creating videos, any kind of content creation that you want to do, message any of us, message you All About the Birds content or accounts. We'll get you set up to join the team. This team is growing. Like I said, this show alone last week had over 5,000 views on it. Okay, we're building a brand here. We're talking to advertise. We're trying to find a way to make this the biggest sports network, not just Eagles network, in the region. We have 4 days of original content. Once football season starts back up, we'll be up to 6 days of original content. We talk Chip talks Phillies, Sixers, everything there is. I talk golf on Tuesday nights. we talk draft, we talk fantasy sports. We do it all on All About the Birds. We're not just Eagles. We're all about sports, period. All About the Birds is just our name. That's what we are. So this week, coming up, the next show's in order. Next show will be Saturday night. It'll be the draft show with Johnny. Johnny, what do you got going on at 9 o'clock on Saturday with the draft show?
So we're going to be joined by new AET Birds writer Adam Mack to kind of talk about the article, because we're going to be going over Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft and breaking it down. And he had the Eagles picking Kyle Pitts at 6. So it's perfect to get Adam on there to, discuss. And he had a great article. And I want to, really get his insights on why Kyle Pitts at number 6 would be, a good pick. So definitely tune into that. We're going to be breaking that all down.
Then we got on Monday, we got Chips and Dish. Talks Phillies, Sixers, whatever's pertinent in Philly sports at the time. Do you have any guests lined up this upcoming week yet, or are we still working on next week's episode?
Still working on next week's episode, but I know pitchers and catchers reported today, so we're going to start with some
baseball
Phils.
Season is there. That's why
the Sixers pulled out a win, so we're going to talk to the Sixers.
Yeah,
we got the All-Star game coming up for basketball. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. The Flyers are all, and I say all, the Flyers are actually back some off the COVID list, so we got some Philly sports to talk about besides just the ridiculousness of the Eagles right now.
Absolutely. And then Tuesday nights, my new show with Jason Sullivan, one of the All About the Birds writers. We do Fairway to Heaven. It talks all about the PGA Tour, fantasy golf. We just did our 5th show last night. Make sure you watch it. As soon as you get off of here, go back to last night's post. Watch it. Get your daily fantasy lineups in for golf. Your bets in. Victor Hovland will win this week, and he's like 31. Hold on, let me see here. 35-1 to win the event. He's the pick to win. Me and Jason both agree on that. So make sure you watch that show. We got lots of great content all about the Birds. Message us. Come join the team. Come join this growing momentum that we are building. If you're watching on Facebook still, click that share button. Make sure you're following us on Facebook. If you're on Twitter, make sure you're following, retweeting the shows out for us. If you're on YouTube watching, click the little thumb up button and click subscribe. We appreciate it. We're trying to build this brand. We can only go as far as all our loyal, all the people that are comment on the show. I shouldn't.
Oh my God, what great comments tonight.
We've had females. Everybody's watching the show tonight. We've had great comments tonight. We love it. So keep interacting. We are the brand that is the most interactive brand out there. We will talk to all of you at any time of the day. You send us messages. You interact with our shows. We put your comments up. That's what we're here for. That's what differentiates us from the other shows. We don't just blow off anybody's opinion that we don't agree with. Do you guys
fight you on it?
What? I'm sorry?
I said, no, we fight you on it.
Yeah, we'll fight you on it, but we won't blow you off. We won't call you an idiot like some of the other sites. We won't block you for an idiot comment. Well, I won't block you for an idiot comment. Maybe Johnny will.
No, I won't.
Yeah. Dikembe.
If he hasn't, Phil, if he hasn't,
finger wag there.
Phil, if Johnny hasn't blocked you yet, I think everybody's safe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Jalen Mills sucks.
Oh no,
I disagree.
Yeah, you disagree. Yeah, no notes on that one. All right, let's wrap this up. This is the All About the Birds weekly report. We'll be back Saturday night with the draft show with Johnny and Tom and Adam, our new writer on All About the Birds. Again, I am Phil Stiefel. You can follow me at Bearded Knowledge. You got Chip Keggy, Chip for the Birds. You got Johnny U. Lecca, Johnny U. 9322. And you got Jeff Warner NFL. I got to really figure out my finger things here and all. Y'all have a great night. Thanks for tuning in. It's been a fantastic episode. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll see you next week at Wednesday at 9:15.
Go Birds.
Go Birds.
Go Birds.